What's up, y'all? Are you guys ready for another episode of Jimmie in the Shop? Because this week, Jimmie is going to be dyeing some scales the way only Jimmie knows how. And he's actually dyeing the scales of this knife. If you read that real quick, that is going to be the knife that I'll be giving away in the upcoming giveaway. We are going to put that off until the full series comes out, but then after that is over with, then this is one of your guys's. So without further ado, let's see what Jimmie's got.
Okay, I'm going to start getting ready to do a dye, a fade dye. So I was wanting to show you the very simple machine that I came up with. You can get as elaborate with this as you want. Dan Kimman
in the KDK house.
He's got great videos where his is all run by a little machine which keeps it very, very consistent, which is a fantastic thing. But I don't have that kind of technology or knowledge, I guess. But what I did was I built this little bracket that comes up over here. There's a coffee pot or a coffee cup hook right here. Then this string is equipped with a counterbalance, and this counterbalance is the key to this situation. When this is hooked up like so, the counterbalance will hold whatever I've got up here. All I do is carefully place this over, then just the friction against the table here, I can lower it a little bit, lower it down into the dye bath a little at a time, and of course then you'll see that when we actually start dyeing. But I wanted you to see how this machine worked so that I can get zoomed in during the actual dye process and you would see what all was happening up here, because it'd be too far away for me to film it all. But anyway, then I can bring it in, bring it out, and then you'll see me do this, take it down here and rinse everything off really well and check the color. And here again, everything here is a very simple machine. And so that is what we're going to get ready to set up and film on a fade dye. And then I'll go into different style dye for a different set of scales. But this set right here is going to lend itself very well to a dark chocolate brown up to this tan. So that's why I decided to actually go with a fade dye on this one. This does not have any liquid in it right now. So anyway, I'll catch you in a little bit. Alright, we're going to get started again on this. I'm going to use a clean paper towel, my alcohol. Give each scale a good rub down. Make sure there's no oils and or fingerprints at this point in time on here. Always keep a piece of paper towel down here to lay things on. Get gloved up. Get a little bit of water. This is plain tap water. I'm going to use it for a bath. Now I want this fade. This fade is going to fade toward the pivot area. So I'm going to hook these up. But I'm going to get them in here, make sure there's no air bubbles hanging on to anything. I'm just going to let them hang out right there for a little while. This is going to be a fade to chocolate brown. I always use RIT synthetic dye. I think others have had luck with other dyes, but this synthetic has always done a great job for me. What we've got here, as far as our tools, came from our best friend, Goodwill. Goodwill purchase. Little 2-burner. I'd like to have a 1-burner or single burner, but that's what I got. This right here is a single wall container, and it came in from Goodwill as well. Now I'm going to leave this down a little bit until it starts getting hot. Once it starts getting to temperature, then we'll start worrying about putting a little bit more in or whatever. Now remember, there's going to be some displacement from these, so you don't want this filled too high at the start, because this right here is going to go in and displace some of that, so you're going to gain volume within the vessel there. Well, we'll just now give her a little wait till we start to hear some stuff going. I made this little skirt around here to kind of trap that heat in and help this thing cook out a little quicker. Always have plenty of these. I just take the singles and just tear them in half, make quarters out of them. Comes in awful handy for everything you can imagine. The water container here is just an old milk jug. Well, actually, this is distilled water. I just cut it off. I use this for everything, all kind of stuff. But there's nothing high-tech that I use at all yet. I'm getting ready to I bought a power supply to start anodizing some titanium, but I'm not there yet. I can flame anno it, but right now I'm not ready for the real stuff yet. So we'll just give it a minute or two here and see what's shaking. As you can see, there's dye all over my table. This stuff seems to travel places where you wouldn't expect it to, and that's the reason I've got an apron on, my bib overalls, because I've got good bib overalls too, not just the old ones. But I keep my bib overalls from changing too many colors, and but I'm not worried about my arms because it'll wash off there. But we'll give it a second or two. And when I'm dyeing, I like to go, if I can stay in the same color family, that works out great, especially on a fade dye. Sometimes I'll use a complete contrast if I'm wanting to sand in a pocket worn look, things like that. But right now, tonight, we're going to do this with a fade and see how it comes out. So I'm going to actually cover that just a touch. Actually, I can do this. Everything I've got is used dual purpose. This right here goes to my skillet, which is a different dye process, and we'll get into that later. But right now, I just wanted to make sure this cooks off right. But I do always keep my jug of non-potable water. Keep that labeled, and I've got still water that I use for other processes, and proper labeling matters. And everything here is going to get splattered to a certain degree, especially on the other style of dyeing. This right here is pretty quick, or pretty simple, because it just comes from here to the back. What I'll do, and you'll see this as during this process, as I bring it out, I want to keep rinsing it off to find out what the true color is, because it'll come out just a little darker than what it's actually going to be. And so I want to make sure that I keep just a little bit of water here to give it a quick rinse and pat it dry with this, and that way I get a good sense of what's going on. We're starting to get a little heat. Not near enough yet, but it's coming. After after we dye them, and I'll dry them off, set them over to the side. Then after that, I'll give them another wipe down with alcohol. What that does is it gets any residual dye, it gets away. Now it took me, it was kind of a school of hard knocks learning this. At first I just dried them off and put them together. Well, then I found out that sometimes the oils would travel through, mix with the dyes, and travel places you didn't really want it to, like in your pocket, things like that. So I do try to get as much of the dye off to where it's not going to run on me. So this is still got a little heating up to do, but we're going to start them. Here again, this is real high tech, everybody. This is real high tech. We'll have to check and see what the displacement is, because as this gets hot and it starts boiling, it can go up and boil over. Ask me how I know that. But we're going to get it in here, and I just started touching it right there. Just started touching the liquid. So I'm just going to ease it down real slow. It's not near hot enough yet to start taking or making much of a difference, but I'm also wanting to bring these scales up to temperature just a touch. Sometimes I wait until it's a good hot temperature to do it. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more dye. Now's the time to put it in. Kind of like watching paint dry, isn't it? This dye has been reused quite a few times. Okay, take them all the way in. I want to take them out real slow. Actually, I want to put them in slower than I take them out. I can hear it starting to cook down in there a little bit. It's starting to give me some noise. That means the dye is getting pretty hot, and it's starting to move around just a little bit, the water is. Even if it's not up to complete temperature, it will take a certain amount of dye. Add just a little bit more water to this. Because I don't have quite enough liquid in there, so I'm going to add just a touch of water. I keep an old chopstick around for lots of reasons. Never know when Chinese food's going to come up. by taking the scales out and putting them in the water bath, you're cooling them down a little bit, which also helps somewhat maintain temperature. We're starting to get a little bit of color near the base. Not a lot, but there's just a slight bit darker down here than it is at the top. If you'll notice the top, I don't leave under very much. I want to leave a good contrast. Now we're starting to get some temperature, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them in just a little bit longer at each elevation, because that's where it really starts to do its thing, because that's been in the dye bath longer. This is a very low-tech way of doing it, but that's kind of how I roll. There's no need doing, for me anyway, there's no need going, because I'm not doing volumes of this, that, and the other. So low-tech works just fine for me, and reasonably priced stuff works very fine for me. Starting to see it even more, how dark it is down here compared to up here. And it's here again, you can take these as dark as you want down to the bottom, or this right here is a pretty good fade the way it is. It's just what variation you want on it. And like most of the things that I modify, there's no two the same. Every one of them is unique. I'll go just a little bit faster now up near the top. You see there's a decent fade coming on there right now. And if this thing will hold its own, that counterweight on this will hold it right where I want it to be, or it gives me flexibility. It's a pretty good little system. It took me a minute to get this height, this string length, and the counterweight where I wanted it, but I'm very happy with it now. Now this time I'm not going to go down to about here because I got a good fade up here. I want to get a little darker down below. Another bath or two and it should be kind of where we're wanting it. If you've got the space, highly recommend you do this stuff. And like I say, there's a lot of people out there that've got different techniques and probably far more knowledge than I do. But it's good to listen to a dozen different ones, different ideas. That's what I tell my apprentices when it comes to soldering copper. I said, I'll teach you one way, somebody else will teach you another way, somebody else even another way. But then you'll develop your way, and that's the way it should be. Now that right there, I'm going to leave that right there. That's a good looking fade, from fairly dark to fairly light, very noticeable fade. I'm going to shut this down. Here again, low tech. That'll have to cool out. I am pretty happy with these. Those will hang right there and stay out of trouble. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with those. Pretty consistent, good fade lines. And I'll show you what I'm talking about when it comes to this. See that brown coming off there? That would have mixed with oils and or perspiration or whatever and could stain. That's the reason I do this step. It'll take a little bit off of it, so you got to be prepared for that. But I can usually get a couple of washes per paper towel. Then I'll use two paper towels or 2/4. If I get off, you got to remember now, I'm not a professional at this, any way, shape, or form. So if I get a little bit off camera here, I apologize. See how that lightened up just a touch? But that's okay. If you decide it's lightened up too much, dye's right there. It's already pretty well up to temperature. See that? Not much more of that brown's coming off now. So that's kind of what we're going to have is right there, which is good and consistent. It's a good fade going up. Now here again, your G10, your micartas, and all those, they're slightly different according to the grain in it and all that. And it's all personal preference. It really is. I could have left these in a little bit longer. Wouldn't hurt a thing. But for this demonstration, I'm relatively sure you see what's happening and what could be and however you want it. Because this is how your scales will turn out when you do this. You run through a lot of paper towel. And there's what you kind of wind up with. I probably could have let these steady a little bit longer and got a little darker, but you know what? That's what makes it yours, is doing it. Each one of them is completely different. It's not, you gotta go in for 10 minutes and 32 seconds or whatever. They're all a little bit different. That makes them unique. That makes them custom. So then, once I'm done here, the dye will get put back into the, once it's cooled, it'll get put back into here. So I'm not going to keep you on here till that happens. Then this water will rinse that out and go into an empty Coke bottle to be thrown away. You've saved most of your dye, and all the thing you're getting rid of is a little bit of byproduct. And that's it. That's a fade dye, and it can go to whatever you want as far as intensity or depth of. So hope that helps, and I'm going to shut her off right there, and I'll be back probably with another style of dyeing. All right. Thank you very kindly. Take care.
Now that was just awesome, wasn't it? Jimmie's such a character, and we love him so much. If you haven't already, I would very much appreciate it if you head over to my Etsy store and check out some of my Hanks. They're on sale right now. The Gray Friday sale this weekend, and next weekend they'll be on sale again, 25% off. So if you need something soft to wipe your glasses with or your knives with, MadYocco Hanks. Thanks a bunch. Have a great weekend.